Welcome, dear listeners, to History with Herodotus, where we embark on a journey through the annals of time, uncovering the secrets and stories that have shaped our world. Today, we set our sights on one of the most pivotal naval battles in history, the Battle of Trafalgar. This epic clash of ships and nations has become an iconic moment in the chronicles of warfare. But to truly understand its significance, we must first delve into its earliest history. As we navigate the complexities of this period, let us begin by setting the stage for the events that unfolded. The late 18th century was a time of great upheaval in Europe, with the French Revolution sending shockwaves throughout the continent. The rise of Napoleon Bonaparte, with his ambition and military prowess, would soon lead to a series of conflicts that would engulf the nations of Europe. It is against this backdrop that we find ourselves in the early 19th century, with the British Navy, under the command of Admiral Horatio Nelson, blockading the French port of Toulon. The year was 1803, and Napoleon's plans for naval expansion were being thwarted by the British presence in the Mediterranean. Meanwhile, Villeneuve, the French admiral, was trapped in the port of Toulon, unable to break through the British blockade. The events that led up to the Battle of Trafalgar began to unfold on April 30th, 1805, when Villeneuve's fleet escaped from Toulon and sailed towards the Mediterranean. Nelson, who had been tracking Villeneuve's movements, set sail from Gibraltar in pursuit, determined to intercept the French fleet. As we follow the path of these two commanders, we see that their ships navigated through the narrow straits of Gibraltar, passing by the ancient fortress of Tarifa, where the Moors once ruled over the Iberian Peninsula. The delicate dance of diplomacy also played a significant role in setting the stage for Trafalgar. Napoleon's attempt to persuade Spain to join him in his war against Britain ultimately led to the signing of the Treaty of San Ildefonso on October 1st at 1800, which formed an alliance between France and Spain. This treaty committed Spain to providing naval support to France, drawing its fleet into the conflict. As we explore the historical context of this period, we find that the British Navy was not only blockading French ports, but also engaging in a series of skirmishes with French and Spanish ships. The British victory at the Battle of Cape St. Vincent in 1797 had given them control of the Mediterranean, and they were determined to maintain their dominance. The year 1805 was shaping up to be a critical one for Napoleon's plans. His army was preparing to invade Britain, and he needed a strong naval presence to support his troops. The escape of Villeneuve's fleet from Toulon was a significant blow to the British, and Nelson knew that he had to act quickly to prevent the French from gaining control of the seas. The stage is set for a confrontation that will decide the fate of nations, as two great fleets prepare to clash in a maelstrom of gunfire and bravery. And so, dear listeners, we have arrived at the threshold of this pivotal moment in history. The events that led up to the Battle of Trafalgar have been set in motion, and the outcome is far from certain. Join me next as we plunge into the heart of this epic struggle, where heroism and tragedy entwine like the threads of a rich tapestry, and the fate of empires hangs in the balance. Welcome back to History with Herodotus, where we're exploring the epic story of the Battle of Trafalgar. The year was 1805, and the fate of Europe hung in the balance. On October 21st, 1805, the two fleets clashed off the coast of Cape Trafalgar. Spain. The British fleet, consisting of 27 ships of the line, faced off against a combined French and Spanish fleet of 33 ships. Despite being outnumbered, Nelson's tactics and the superior training of his crew gave the British a decisive advantage. As the battle commenced, the British ships formed two columns, with Nelson's flagship, the HMS Victory, leading the charge. The French and Spanish fleets, on the other hand, were arrayed in a traditional line of battle, with their ships forming a long, curved line. However, this formation proved to be a liability, as it exposed their vulnerable sterns and bows to the British guns. The British took full advantage of this, using their superior gunnery and maneuverability to devastating effect. As the battle raged on, Nelson's flagship, the HMS Victory, engaged the French ship Herodotus in a fierce duel. Despite being outgunned, The Redoutable's crew put up a valiant fight, and at one point, they even managed to board the Victory. However, the British crew was able to repel the attack, and eventually, the Redoutable was forced to surrender. Meanwhile, other British ships were engaging their French and Spanish counterparts in fierce battles across the fleet. The HMS Temeraire, for example, played a crucial role in supporting the Victory, using its guns to blast holes in the French ships. The AMS Royal Sovereign, on the other hand, found itself surrounded by several enemy ships, but its crew fought bravely, managing to hold off their attackers until reinforcements arrived. As the day wore on, it became clear that the British were gaining the upper hand. The French and Spanish fleets were in disarray, with many of their ships damaged or sunk. By the end of the battle, the British had emerged victorious, having destroyed or captured 19 French and Spanish ships, while losing none of their own. The Battle of Trafalgar was a decisive victory for the British, and it cemented their dominance of the seas. Napoleon's plans for invading Britain were thwarted, and his naval ambitions were dealt a severe blow. The battle also marked the beginning of a period of British supremacy at sea, which would last for over a century. As we reflect on the events of that fateful day, we're struck by the bravery and skill of the sailors and officers who fought in the Battle of Trafalgar. Their heroism and sacrifice have become legendary, inspiring generations of naval officers and historians alike. The battle itself was a testament to the power of superior training, tactics, and leadership, as well as the importance of adaptability and innovation on the battlefield. And so, dear listeners, we've reached the climax of our story, where heroism and tragedy entwine like the threads of a rich tapestry. The Battle of Trafalgar was a turning point in history, one that would shape the course of European politics and naval warfare for centuries to come. Welcome back to History with Herodotus, where we're exploring the epic story of the Battle of Trafalgar. But the aftermath of this decisive battle was just as significant, with far-reaching consequences for Europe and beyond. In the immediate wake of the battle, the British fleet set about securing its prizes and tending to the wounded. The sheer scale of the destruction was staggering, with many French and Spanish ships left smoldering or sinking. The HMS Victory, Nelson's flagship, had suffered significant damage, but it remained afloat, a testament to the bravery and skill of its crew. As news of the battle spread, it sent shockwaves throughout Europe. Napoleon's plans for invading Britain were now in tatters, and his naval ambitions had been dealt a severe blow. The French and Spanish navies would never fully recover from the loss of so many ships and experienced sailors. The British, on the other hand, had cemented their dominance of the seas, which would last for over a century. The Battle of Trafalgar also marked a turning point in the Napoleonic Wars. With his naval power broken, Napoleon was forced to focus on land-based campaigns, which ultimately led to his downfall. The battle also had significant implications for the balance of power in Europe, as it allowed Britain to maintain its position as a major world power. In the years that followed, the British Navy continued to play a dominant role in European politics, with its ships patrolling the seas and protecting British trade interests. The legacy of Nelson and his crew lived on, inspiring generations of naval officers and historians alike. The Battle of Trafalgar became a symbol of British bravery and ingenuity, a testament to the power of superior training, tactics, and leadership. Today, the Battle of Trafalgar remains an important part of British history and culture. The HMS Victory has been preserved as a museum ship, a reminder of the bravery and sacrifice of those who fought in the battle. Every year, on October 21st, the Royal Navy commemorates the battle with a ceremony at Portsmouth Naval Base, where the Victory is moored. As we reflect on the aftermath of the Battle of Trafalgar, we're struck by the significance of this epic struggle. It was a turning point in history, one that would shape the course of European politics and naval warfare for centuries to come. The bravery and skill of the sailors and officers who fought in the battle have become legendary, inspiring generations to come. And so, dear listeners, we've reached the end of our journey through the epic story of the Battle of Trafalgar. We hope you've enjoyed this exploration of one of history's most significant naval battles. Join us next time on History with Herodotus, as we explore more fascinating stories from the past. As the great historian and philosopher Edmund Burke once said, "Example is the school of mankind, and they will learn at no other." The Battle of Trafalgar is a powerful example of bravery, sacrifice, and determination, one that continues to inspire us today. We hope you've learned something new and interesting from our podcast, and we look forward to sharing more stories with you in the future. In the words of Nelson himself, "Thank God I have done my duty." The crew of the HMS Victory and the British Navy did their duty on that fateful day in 1805, and their bravery and sacrifice will never be forgotten. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, remember that to understand the present, we must first understand the past.